and it's actually non-negotiable. Our rights are on the line, folks.
In a move that has sent shockwaves through both Hollywood and fashion media, Rachel Zegler has reportedly decided to skip the 2025 Met Gala. That might not sound earth-shattering at first. People miss events all the time. But this isn't just an event. The Met Gala is the most high-profile night in the entertainment industry outside of award season. It's the Super Bowl of fashion, the Oscars of red carpets. The one night where actors, musicians, designers, and influencers unite under one massive spotlight, where even the people who aren't invited still try to get themselves mentioned in coverage. And Zegler? She was invited. She had the golden ticket. So her absence isn't just noticeable, it's loud. What makes this even more interesting is the timing. Rachel Zegler has been at the center of a seemingly endless wave of controversy surrounding her role in Disney's live-action Snow White remake. From backlash over her comments about the original 1937 classic, to rumored friction with co-stars, to public frustration about her political statements, she's been a lightning rod for criticism. And now, just as the industry's elite gather for a night of spectacle and curated appearances, Zegler is nowhere to be found. Coincidence? Hardly. Her decision not to attend the Met Gala suggests one of two things. Either she's intentionally stepping back from the public eye to protect herself and control her narrative, or she's been quietly advised to stay out of the spotlight until the storm dies down. Either way, it's a big signal that she and her team are aware of just how precarious her current standing is. Because if there's one thing we know about Hollywood, it's this: nothing is accidental. And skipping the Met Gala, especially after being invited, is a move loaded with meaning. Rachel Zegler skipping the Met Gala isn't just a fashion decision, it's a reputation management strategy. For months now, Zegler has been the center of heated online debates, most of which boil down to one uncomfortable reality: her public image is on shaky ground. Once hailed as a rising star with undeniable talent and promise, she's now become one of the most divisive figures in pop culture. It started with her comments about Snow White, which many found dismissive of the 1937 original, and snowballed with each viral clip, political post, and interview soundbite that followed. The tone shifted from admiration to suspicion, and for some, outright hostility. When you're walking the Met Gala red carpet, you're not just wearing couture. You're making a statement. You're posing for hundreds of cameras, with every facial expression, body language cue, and fashion choice dissected by millions. It's high-pressure exposure. And for someone whose every word has been twisted into headlines lately, that exposure could be more of a liability than a comeback opportunity. In that context, skipping the Met Gala begins to make a lot more sense. It removes her from a potentially volatile environment and prevents more fuel from being added to an already raging fire. Even more telling is that Zegler didn't publicly acknowledge the invite or offer any explanation for not attending. No Instagram post, no casual had to miss it this year story, just silence. That's not an oversight. That's calculated. Because right now, her team is likely trying to reset her image. They know that another viral moment, especially one that could be interpreted the wrong way, might push things further into chaos. By avoiding one of the year's biggest cultural events, Zegler may actually be trying to regain control of the story before the Snow White release forces her back into the public eye. Even though Disney has been suspiciously quiet about the Snow White controversy lately, the tension hasn't gone anywhere. It's just simmering beneath the surface. And Rachel Zegler, whether fairly or unfairly, is seen as the epicenter of that storm. Her comments about the original film being outdated, her portrayal of a more independent and prince-less Snow White, and her frequent critiques of the classic narrative have not sat well with fans of the franchise. Add to that the broader cultural backlash against what some critics see as forced modernization of childhood classics, and you have a situation Disney wishes it could quietly bury. The thing is, they can't, because Snow White 2025 is still coming. And with every passing week, pressure builds. A film that should have been a surefire success, classic property, iconic characters, modern update, has now become one of the riskiest titles on Disney's slate. And Zegler is, in the eyes of many, the reason why. That's not entirely fair, Movies are collaborative, and PR crises are rarely caused by one person. But public perception doesn't care about fairness. It latches onto a face, and unfortunately for Disney, that face is Rachel's. So when she skips the Met Gala, it feels less like an independent choice and more like fallout. Like a consequence of the unresolved chaos between her and the studio. While other stars dazzle on the red carpet, Zegler is sitting this one out, possibly at Disney's suggestion, possibly on her own accord, but either way, the shadow of Snow White looms large. Her absence becomes part of the PR campaign, a silent acknowledgement that the situation is still too hot to touch. And as long as that tension exists, every public decision she makes, or doesn't make, will be viewed through the lens of Snow White's still unfolding drama. In 2025, walking a red carpet is less about looking good and more about surviving the internet's microscope. The Met Gala isn't just a celebration of fashion, it's a digital battlefield. Memes are created within seconds. Comment sections are brutal. Clips get clipped, angles get analyzed, and facial expressions are judged like policy decisions. For someone like Rachel Zegler, who's already been torn apart for things she said months ago, the fear of more public scrutiny has to be real. Imagine stepping onto that carpet knowing that every glance, pose, or even the theme of your outfit could reignite a new round of backlash. One slightly smug look could become a meme. One eye roll could be turned into an accusation. It's not just media that's watching, it's an audience primed for controversy. Zegler knows this, and so does her team. Attending the Met Gala under that level of pressure could do more harm than good, especially if she ends up trending for the wrong reasons again. We've already seen what happens when Zegler speaks candidly. Her comments get taken out of context, turned into outrage bait, and recycled for weeks. At the Met Gala, even silence is scrutinized. Every photo could become the next viral moment, whether she wants it to or not. In that sense, skipping the event isn't about giving up a glamorous opportunity. It's about protecting herself from a high-stakes environment she's not currently in a position to navigate successfully. So while the move might seem like a retreat, it could actually be a strategic pause. Because when your every move is under a magnifying glass, sometimes the smartest move is no move at all. This isn't the first time Rachel Zegler has quietly stepped away from the spotlight. Over the past few months, there's been a noticeable pattern. Interviews canceled, talk show appearances pulled, promotional events rescheduled or removed altogether. While official statements usually cite scheduling conflicts, the volume and timing of these cancellations paint a much clearer picture. Disney, or Zegler's team, is keeping her away from microphones and cameras. And honestly, it's not hard to see why. Every time she's spoken publicly since the Snow White press cycle began, something has gone sideways. Whether it's her opinions on love stories, critiques of older films, or her political takes, each appearance seemed to add more fuel to the backlash. Even moments that should have been lighthearted or empowering ended up as quote-mined controversy clips on Twitter. Her press run turned into a minefield, and everyone noticed. So when she cancels yet another appearance, especially something as iconic as the Met Gala, it fits the trend. It's become part of a larger strategy. Minimize exposure, wait for the outrage to die down, and try to re-enter the spotlight under more controlled circumstances. But there's a danger in overcorrecting. The more she disappears, the more people notice she's missing. And the more silence there is, the more the internet fills the gaps with speculation, rumors, and conspiracies. Still, in this case, the pattern is clear. Zegler's absence from public-facing events isn't an isolated decision. It's part of a broader pullback. One that might be necessary, but also risky. Because at some point, she's going to have to re-emerge. And when she does, the pressure will be even greater than it was before. When things get messy in Hollywood, people start choosing sides, and that's exactly what's happened with Rachel Zegler. In the aftermath of her Snow White controversies and now her Met Gala absence, the entertainment industry appears to be divided. Some celebrities have stepped forward to publicly defend her, while others have stayed eerily silent. That silence is loud. In an industry where public alliances are everything, who speaks up and who doesn't can reshape someone's career trajectory in real time. A few notable names like Ariana Grande and Melissa Barrera have shown support, either through vague online affirmations, social media likes, or brief mentions in interviews. These gestures may seem small, but in a high-drama environment like this, even a like can become a headline. Support from respected industry names sends a message. She's one of us. She's worth backing. But outside of a handful of allies, most of Hollywood has been careful to keep its distance from Zegler, especially in high-profile public settings. The Met Gala would have been the perfect place to show where the lines were drawn. Who greeted her warmly on the carpet? Who posed with her? Who looked the other way? But now that she's not attending, that power dynamic remains hidden. Instead of giving people a chance to read the room, her absence leaves the conversation open-ended. Is she still in good standing behind closed doors? Or has she been quietly blacklisted from the upper-tier Hollywood elite? Even her absence becomes a political statement, one that could either be an intentional retreat or a sign that the industry's support she once had is slipping. That ambiguity is dangerous, because in a world where relationships drive casting, PR, and branding, public silence can sometimes do more damage than outright criticism. And right now, Rachel's circle seems smaller and quieter than ever before. Had Rachel Zegler shown up to the Met Gala, it could have been one of the biggest comeback moments of her career. No exaggeration. The Met is one of the few places where you can literally shift public opinion with a single image. A bold dress, a powerful pose, a clever nod to the theme. It's a golden opportunity to say, I'm still here, and I'm owning it. For someone whose public image has taken a serious hit, the Met Gala could have been a PR goldmine. But instead, she chose to pass. And that's a big deal. Because in this industry, appearances are everything. Showing up to the Met would have allowed her to reframe the narrative. She could have appeared confident, stylish, and above the noise. Even if people still had doubts about her, a strong appearance could have turned the tide. Think about how many celebrities have rehabbed their image just by looking unbothered and iconic on the Met steps. One photo can rewrite the headlines. Instead, her absence was the headline, and that silence gave more fuel to her critics. Instead of showing strength, many interpreted it as retreat. Instead of reclaiming the spotlight, she gave it up entirely. And it's not just about fashion, it's about momentum. Events like this keep your name in the cultural conversation in a positive way. They remind casting directors, producers, and fans that you're still a presence, still marketable, still powerful. Skipping the Met wasn't just passing on a party, it was passing on a massive opportunity to control the narrative. And in a time when perception drives everything, walking away from that kind of power move might prove to be one of the riskiest decisions of all. There's another side to this that's important to acknowledge, and it paints Rachel Zegler's decision in a very different light. Some people see this as self-preservation. They argue that skipping the Met Gala wasn't weakness, but wisdom. When you know the knives are out and the cameras are waiting for you to slip up, maybe the smartest thing to do is not to give them a target. Zegler could be protecting herself from a media machine that has already chewed her up and spit her out multiple times. The Met Gala is glamorous, yes, but it's also dangerous for someone already under fire. Every angle, every interaction, every facial twitch gets turned into a meme, a think piece, a headline. Zegler's team likely weighed the pros and cons, and maybe, after everything that's happened, the risk just wasn't worth it. After all, she's still young, still early in her career. There's time to come back stronger, but only if she doesn't crash harder in the meantime. People forget how relentless the internet can be. The same platforms that built her up after West Side Story are the same ones that tore her down during the Snow White fallout. And if you're already the target of think pieces, hate threads, and TikToks dissecting your every move, do you really want to walk into a room designed to spark maximum public scrutiny? So while some might see this as a missed opportunity, others see it as a power move, an intentional withdrawal, not a defeat. The idea that Zegler is sitting this one out to regroup, refocus, and protect her mental space isn't crazy. It might even be the healthiest decision she's made in months. Because sometimes the strongest flex isn't showing up, it's knowing when not to. No matter what Rachel Zegler does or doesn't do, it ends up trending. And her absence from the Met Gala was no exception. The internet's response was instant, ruthless, and as always, deeply split. Some users immediately interpreted her absence as a sign of guilt or shame. Theories spread like wildfire. She didn't want to get booed. She knew no one would stand with her. She was uninvited at the last minute. Most of these claims were speculative at best, but that didn't stop them from going viral. Others defended her choice, framing it as a mature decision to stay out of the chaos and avoid feeding the drama machine. TikTokers made videos praising her for preserving her peace. Twitter threads argued that the Met Gala isn't a requirement for relevance, and that maybe she's trying to distance herself from the toxic celebrity culture that contributed to her backlash in the first place. But the common denominator? Everyone was talking about her. Again, even in her absence, Zegler dominated headlines. Articles were written about her not attending. YouTubers made reaction videos speculating about why she didn't show. Fans debated whether it was strategy or cowardice. In a way, she trended because she was missing. And in today's digital landscape, that's wild. To have this much impact without even stepping outside, that's power, even if it's wrapped in controversy. The internet doesn't wait for clarification. It fills in the blanks with whatever narrative fits the mood. And for Zegler, the mood is always intense. Her presence sparks debate. Her silence sparks debate. She's reached that rare level of fame where doing nothing still becomes something. But for how long can that last without creating long-term consequences? All of this, the Met Gala absence, the mounting backlash, the cautious silence, points to one undeniable truth. Rachel Zegler's brand is standing at a fork in the road. On one path, she recalibrates, recovers, and returns stronger. On the other, she fades under the weight of controversy, unable to reclaim the good she once had.
And right now,
the outcome is still up in the air. She started with promise, a breakout star, a Disney princess, a new kind of Hollywood lead. But in the span of a few months, she's become a case study in how fast things can unravel. The modern celebrity landscape doesn't give you much room for error. And once you become that girl in the headlines, the one everyone's arguing about, it takes a monumental effort to change the story. Especially when you're constantly one post, one quote, one misinterpreted expression away from reigniting the fire. Skipping the Met Gala didn't reset the narrative, but it did make a statement. It showed that Zegler, or at least the people around her, know the stakes. They're trying to control the damage. They're trying to slow the momentum of a backlash that could easily spiral into long-term career damage. But it's a gamble, because the longer she stays silent, the more people will define her story for her. Her next move will be everything. Whether it's a carefully planned public appearance, a heartfelt interview, or even a quiet role in a smaller project, the public will be watching. And not just watching, they'll be judging. Harshly. Because once your name becomes a brand, every step you take is a potential headline. And for Rachel Zegler, the question isn't whether she can recover, it's whether the audience will still care when she tries.